everyone. Welcome to this episode of Conscious Design. I'm here with Mark Bernstein, President of Earthshot, to talk about their mission with climate change and how we can have a bit more of a positive spin on that. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so I'm really, what you guys are doing really caught my attention because there's so much negative outlook, right? We all look at doom and gloom for climate change, which there's a place for that. Something bad we shouldn't hide, but it's also kind of just been highly focused on only the bad things and how not focused on how can we make a change and what are the positives of making those changes. And that's something that you're looking to help change. You're looking to help give people more of a hopeful approach to how do we solve that. So how did you come about deciding that that's how you wanted to go and your project right now?
Well, a couple of things. One is that so I've been dealing with climate change stuff for 20 years. So kind of early stages of dealing with climate. And I also have a little bit of marketing background. And so for a long time, it's kind of, I recognize that people don't react to fear. Right? People don't, that doesn't get people to do something, really, except run away. And so that's what the messaging has been doing. People are running away, or they don't know what to do, or it's too late, then why should I do anything? And so, thinking about how can we inspire people, we can inspire people to give them something to strive for, give them a positive vision of the future, something that could happen. And that's where clean tech comes in. And so clean tech is interesting. Clean tech is better than it was before, and it's better than what you use today. So you don't have to sacrifice to reduce your carbon footprint, but most people don't get that. And we're trying to present that vision of the future to people.
Right. That was a good point. It's changed. Clean tech has changed and grown a lot since you've been in this for 20 years. So I thought that's a lot of change that have happened since people started talking about what is clean tech, how do we make that happen more. It's changed. And so you mentioned before wanted to go and inspiring people, right? You want to inspire people to actually change and make those. And one of the things you're doing is creating a game, and that and a few other things. Tell us a little bit about how you're going about it, giving people a way to be inspired about this stuff.
Yeah, so if we're trying to show off kind of cool technology, you can't just tell people it. That's not where people are. People aren't reading things and not listening to things, but people are on games, right? Huge percentage of the population are playing games, and they get something from the games. And all studies show that people actually do absorb things from the games. And so if you can actually embed clean tech into games, people will come away with, hey, that's pretty cool. And then if you give them the access to being able to go do it. So think about a game in which you're not just driving regular cars, but you're also getting to drive electric vehicles. And there are things electric vehicles can do that regular cars can't. From a crab walk that the EV Hummer does to the Rivian tank turn, to be able to, at a button, increase your height. You can put electric using devices in there. You can have a microwave in there. You can have a popcorn machine. You can do things in an electric car. And so if you develop something in which people are playing a fun game, but you get to choose kind of electric vehicle upgrades and the people chasing you can't, you're going to beat them every time. And so the idea is putting this into the gaming community, that 20 to 34-year-old sweet spot of gamers that can influence purchase decisions. And the demographics are broad. They're all over the country. So it's not just showing up in LA and New York and big cities.
Right. And that's an interesting point, because it's, I've have kids. I'm familiar with games where I play them as well, and it is very much. Um, there aren't as many electric cars in video games. There aren't as like clean tech isn't usually inside those things, and even movies. So our entertainment that we consume is not heavily skewed yet towards showing us. So it's kind of what we're staring at all the time. It's still old current technology. You would say it's not clean technology. Is there when you're going to obviously electric cars are great. They're easy to integrate, right? It doesn't become science fiction as soon as you put an electric car. Are you looking at beyond so like clean tech into sort of science fiction realm, or are you keeping it more to existing technology or really close technology? Like how are you playing with that idea? Because we have those sci-fi,
Yeah.
right? We have the sci-fi stuff of way out there. Like where are you kind of seeing what's the best place you're
What we're trying to do is keep it to the near future. We're giving the people that some people can actually go out and do and get or see. Uh, you know, and it doesn't mean particularly in a game. If you think of it, you play games, you can stretch that too. And so, yeah, lots of things electric vehicles can do today. They still can't go, vertically up a hill, right up a wall. But we may include that in the game, even though we know they can't do it yet. So there, you can stretch, but you can create those things. Or you think about a super efficient house, building a Sims and a your eco house, and you'll have all these things you can do today, but maybe we have a smart artificial intelligence in there, and you walk in and you tell your AI what to do and how to keep the house going, and that's not quite there yet,
But it's believable.
but it's pretty close.
Right.
It's Alexa and all that stuff. I mean, you can control lots of what's in your house, not quite everything yet, but it's so that next step we can put into a game, or add to an existing game.
Right. And you guys are working on developing your own game. Do you have like a series of games that you plan to launch? And you mentioned adding stuff to other games. Are you trying to partner and help co-develop and put that into kind of how's that landscape?
Yeah, we are all those things. So we have a game under development, kind of to showcase what we think can be done. But we also have ideas for adding components into existing games. And so we want to build some of those ideas and approach game studios and with, hey, here's an idea. Here's how to incorporate this into your existing games. It's a matter of getting noticed and a matter of getting attention to these things. But yeah, I mean, we don't want to be a game studio. We want game studios to kind of work with us and develop these ideas. And there are lots of games out there that could add clean tech into them. Fortnite for a bit had windmills, wind turbines, and they had one thing where you had to go find the wind turbines. They don't really do anything in the game, but they're kind of there. But it could do more. It could be more of if you're doing some stuff with solar and renewables and things, you can, add something to your gameplay, so that, pretty almost any game that I played, you could add some, clean tech thing to, and have a challenge of it and just get people to notice it. I'd love to see a Mario e-kart someday,
Right. And so beyond just, right, games are great. Games are a good way to get into, it's kind of just getting into the public consciousness, right? It's getting it there so that instead of it being a oddity or a novelty, it just becomes, well, this should be, right? It should just exist. Why does it not exist? How do we make it exist and almost normalizing it, right? It's taking something that I still see people driving giant diesel trucks that blow out rolls and rolls of coal, right? So getting it normalized to electric is normal and clean tech. But you mentioned you're not wanting to be a game studio, right? That's not your dream isn't to become the next big game studio. So how do you, besides kind of this consulting role of, okay, here, let's work with the game studio, let's work with it, what else are you looking at to help get this into? Are there any other projects or areas where you see a path to help normalizing and putting this out there as part of our, our collective consciousness, so to speak?
So two things. We also have another path, which is trying to influence government and corporate decision makers. And that's to build what we're calling a Clean Tech is Cool portal, in which we can put in there all the different types of technologies and opportunities that exist around the world. A lot of them under the radar. We hear about solar and wind and electric vehicles and batteries, but there's a lot of things we don't hear about that could have a enormous impact as well. And we need to have the information available. And there's no place to go if I'm a company and say, okay, I got this problem. What can I do to solve it? You have to hire a consultant and they only know what they know. And so what we're trying to do is being able to populate an easily accessible a portal for people to find technologies and opportunities that exist. And we'll use a little bit of AI searching, a little bit of people searching and vetting to basically build this portal. And we're hoping to make it accessible to the average person too. And the initial focus is businesses and government, but then also create an interface that the average person can go in and say, well, what can I do? If I want to reduce my carbon footprint, what can I do? And where can I find things in my neighborhood or in my local environment? So that's the other stream of things we're doing to make sure the information is out there so people can make decisions.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. There's not really a clean tech hub that I know of that shows, hey, here's all the technology being developed. Here's all and it seems to be there's a new thing coming out every time I look almost of just somebody's invented some new device or a new, more efficient system somewhere that makes a cleaner, better product.
And there are a lot of local solutions too. And so it's not all global. It's not everything is usable every place. And so if we can help find localized solutions, localized opportunities, that also enhances everything. And then people, can, help a local business. I mean, there's a whole lot of way to inspire people in action. And the other thing we're hoping to do as COVID winds down at some point is to return to a concept of in-person experiences. So creating short 3D immersive experiences for people to understand what's happening and how to fix it and take it on the road. Take it on the road to county fairs across the country where they don't get these things. So if you think about the big immersive experiences like the Van Gogh immersive experience in the big cities, they don't show up in Lincoln, Nebraska. They don't show up in these little towns. And so people don't get it. So if we can bring, even if it's a climate change thing, people will go to it because they never get them, right? And there are 500 plus small science museums scattered across the country, and they don't get the big exhibits. So if we can bring these things there, then people will go and understand more and have more access. So that's the third piece of what we're trying to achieve.
Right. Well, that makes a lot of sense. It's, as you said, those smaller places don't get the attention, right? LA gets a new electric car comes out. They show up in LA, they show up in New York, they show up in a few other places, and they skip their ass. And there's not a focus on that. So bringing it, it's your theme of awareness, right? It's you're bringing awareness to places and people that just don't typically, they kind of get overlooked in something like this, which if we're trying to change the climate and undo anything, we have to get everyone on board. We have to get that 40% or probably more probably there's more people.
And it's the 40% who don't think it's happening, but even the people who care a lot, they're really not doing a lot, right? So the average person still doesn't quite know what to do. You just need to inspire people, and people don't have to make wholesale changes. We need people to make small changes over time, and you multiply it by the population, you get big changes, right? So we don't need everybody to go vegan. We don't need everybody to do certain things. We need people to make marginal changes, substitute stuff that's actually better than what they're using today, and we can see big changes happening.
Well, and I think that's a great point, and this is something I run into talking to clients about designing new products. Is a lot of people don't realize how much better materials there are. They don't realize how good of biodegradable options there are, or how many. Right? There's still kind of this idea that we're in a super limited early stage of figuring out how to be green, and that you can never replace plastic, or it's really hard to, or you can't make something recyclable. It's too expensive, and the tipping point has already happened. We just haven't realized.
Right, people just haven't realized it yet. I mean, the ongoing assumption is if I have to be more environmental, it's going to cost me more.
Right.
And that's just not always the case anymore. It was 20 years ago when I started, and I was selling people on expensive things. And that's not the case anymore. Take LED light bulbs, right? 5 years ago, they were more expensive, but today they're the cheapest light bulbs in the market. They last almost forever. And
I actually don't know. I don't understand why we're still making other light bulbs at this point.
Well, we're pretty much not, though there are some, but in the US, we can't outlaw it.
Why did Home Depot? They still have incandescent light bulbs, and I don't know why. Like they even make LED light bulbs that look like incandescent ones.
Yeah, and it's just got it's hard in the US to ban things. We've tried, right? But thankfully, for the most part, those are in the back, and the LED light bulbs are up front. And now that they're the same price, basically, people are switching over. But it's taken a long time. I mean, could have been 10 years ago, and there are other things like that, and we just need to show people. We need to, but you can't just tell people because they don't. Right.
We've been doing that for 20 years.
Right. You got to put it in a way that's more fun, and you got to market it in the right way too. We're clearly been marketing climate change wrong because people aren't buying it. And so, if your product isn't selling, you need to change your marketing. And climate change product is not selling, so we need to change the marketing, and that's what we're all about.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. And I think thinking of the story of climate change as a product, it would have been pulled from the shelves. No company would have stuck with it this long, or with this marketing. They would have repackaged it, rebranded it, and thrown it back out there again. So I think I don't think I've ever heard anybody talk about it like that, but it's so true. It is still something to be, marketed and shared, and that's what storytelling is, right? Branding and marketing, storytelling, and clearly we have not been telling the story the right way, because 40% don't believe it and 60% do, but don't know what to do about it. Then that sounds like a partial story that some people just don't get.
Right.
So great that you are looking at it and going, well, how do we market it differently? How do we put it out there and have it make sense? Because obviously it's confusing. It's either confusing or scary, and that is what we've been doing.
Right. Or for a while it was too far in the future, right? And it's not impacting me. Well, it's not too far in the future anymore, but people still have that mindset, right? And and there's a lot of throwing up their hands. I mean, we've had the same problem at some level with COVID in terms of marketing vaccines and things, and but it's different, right? And at some level, but there are some similar elements there. It's like anything else, and the only successful fear campaign that worked was car companies selling SUVs in the early stages of, the reason people drive SUVs today is because car companies sold it as safety. And there was fear of accidents. And so, it was a particular marketing push by automobile companies to scare people out of sedans and into SUVs that make more profits. And that worked.
Well, fear will work for a short time. And it'll drive something, it'll make a spike.
Right.
But when you're talking about long-term, like climate, it obviously doesn't work because we get these mini spikes, but nothing's really shifted, right? We haven't shifted as a species, which is what we need. We need long-term shift.
And we are seeing some changes at the margin. I mean, in the U.S., there's been some reduction in the growth of meat products and certainly an increase in plant-based products, to the extent that big companies like Tyson's and Hormel are beginning to put out their own plant-based meat products. And the reason is they see a long-term decline, and they might as well make the product that substitutes. And the fact is they make more profits on the plant-based products than on their meat products today. So might as well. And that's okay.
Yeah, it's still a driver. And I think that's also, and if you look at it and think about it, the marketing behind plant-based, that worked. And none of it was fear. Like there were no giant fear campaigns to get you to buy a vegetable burger. No scary campaigns around it. And you look at it and we've shifted. Like it's a huge. Even fast food chains now are offering Impossible Burger or some other vegetable burger version, which at that point when the fast food chain switches over, that's mainstream. Like you can't get any more popular or more out there than getting a fast food version of it. So it's a good shift, I think, is what you guys are bringing out, is looking at the marketing and saying, well, how do we look at this? How do we look at positive and inspire people? So I like that idea of inspiring rather than fear. It's I hope that it works out, and I think it will. I think it will shift people long term. Is there kind of your immediate next steps? Right, you're working on your game, you're working on a database, and eventually these in-person things. Is one of those, do you think, is going to come out first, or do you have an order?
We're hoping to get the portal up and going and have the first segment of the portal up. That'll probably be first because that's relatively easiest. We're also trying to significantly increase our presence of who knows us on social media. So we're beginning to ramp up social media presence to begin to put some of these ideas out there. It helps us raise funds. It helps us sort of get audience for the things we're doing. But we expect the portal to get up, pieces of the portal get up first. Games take a while to develop and put out, but we hope to have some small scale prototype, to kind of show people and, something fun, a little fun thing to play just as a teaser. Hoping not too long.
Perfect. Well, for anyone that wants to get a hold of you guys or work with you, get involved, where would they find you guys?
Our website, earthshot.us, and info@earthshot.us, and connect on LinkedIn or Twitter or Instagram, any of those places. We are on Twitter at Earthshot_US. Don't confuse us with the Earthshot Prize. That's Prince William's thing. So you got to kind of, if you search for us, you kind of got to go down a bit to get to us. But we were using the name first. And people are beginning to find us. We have a few videos up on YouTube. And we're again all trying to push that positive, innovative messaging, which we think get people excited. I mean, that's what got people excited in the 50s and things about, and then going to the moon and all those things. It engages people, and inspires people.
Right. Yeah, nobody said anything bad about going to the moon. It was all positive. It worked. Well, awesome. Well, I really appreciate you taking time to be on the show and share what you guys are doing. I think it's amazing, and I think we need more of it. So hopefully we begin a new era in marketing climate change to a more positive tune and inspiring people. So yeah, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me. It was a pleasure. It's really great to chat about it. As you can tell, I like to chat about it.
Yes, it's been great. Thank you so much, Mark.
Thank you.